today this is going to be the talk on that we go through a little bit about how the brain works. This is the output-input loop, and this is the basis of a lot of the work that we do in our riding. What this does is it explains a lot about how the system is taking information in and what it does with it, and then how it gives us the movements and desires that we want. So this is sort of like the backbone and understanding of why and how we look at performance drills, survival drills, and why the visual stuff and the vestibular stuff and some of the weird drills that we give out work. So one of the things that you need to know is that it's a system. With the nervous system, the brain is the driver, but it needs to receive information in order to be able to do anything with it. If it's then receiving that information incorrectly, it can then give you signals out, which will be your movement, your tightness, the weakness, the strength, whatever it is that you're looking for. So going into it a little bit sciencey, what happens is that we've got some signals that come in, and they're called your input signals. And they are things like your sensories. They are things that tell your brain information about the surroundings. Now, that could be your internal surroundings. So that could be chemoreceptors that tell you you're getting hungry, that tell you the chemicals that are within your bloodstream, that tell you what's going on within the system. It could be the fact that it's a thermal receptor, so it's telling you that your skin's cold, that you need to put more layers on. So these are all things that tell your brain information about surroundings. Your visual system tells you what your surroundings look like when there's a step, where there's a car, where there's things that could be a danger to you. You've got your hearing. You can hear if there's stuff going on around you. Taste, smell, all of these are things that give information in to your brain. So it sends information in, and the brain then can go, that's how safe I feel. That's good information or bad information. So, for example, if we go and we're looking at a particular item, if your visual system isn't good, the brain hasn't got good information to interpret, and it needs to be able to interpret that information to be able to decide on the output that it's going to do. So if your visual system's poor, what happens is that the brain goes, well, I haven't got all the information, so I'm going to keep things tighter. I can't make a decision based on less information. So what it will do is it will give you a lesser output. It's exactly the same with every single one of the systems. So if the heat system, if your thermal receptors are not giving the right information in, the brain hasn't got the right amount of information to decide what to do with it. So the outputs are not effective. They're not going to give you the response that you need. So in riding, we see this quite a lot, where we've got riders that have got a visual problem potentially. And what happens is that they have a visual problem. The brain then doesn't interpret the information of the school around them overly well, or when they're out on a hack very well. So what it does is it causes tightness. It causes them to just go into this guarded reflex in threat response because they don't feel happy. Now, their visual system as such isn't affecting their riding. They can still see where they're going. But what it's doing is it's bringing on these natural guarding things that we all say that we want to get rid of, that are stopping you from being able to progress and relax and everything else. And this is where we work on the reflexes within the neural stuff rather than actually the communication of getting just the muscles to do it. So an instructor saying to you, put your shoulders down, and then 2 minutes later, they're back up here. It's because they feel that they need to be here. They need that much tension in order to support you to try and do whatever they're doing. So when we start looking at other inputs, we can start to work out actually what is your body and brain finding scary. So is it the fact that there's something wrong with the input system? Is there something wrong with the interpretation system? So the brain's not actually interpreting the information that you're giving it correctly. But it's both of those. If either of those are not working, it will give you an output along the lines of tightening, weakness, fatigue. So if I go on to... not sure if we've got the slide in here. I haven't got it in the store. I'll bring it up. I'll send it through in another one. Where's it gone? I need the slide back that we're on. In and output. Yeah. So what this does is we get that information in, and you've got 2 sets of drills. It's like a sliding scale. We either live in performance mode, which is where we've got good mobility, good flexibility, good hydration, good gut system, everything is good. You feel like you're top of the game. And then you have times of where you'll feel that you're tight, you're weak, everything you're doing isn't feeling like it's working. And in those cases is when we give you an input drill and an interpretation drill that tend to change the outputs. And it's the easiest way to be able to do that. Now, I'll come on and explain this again in a different way in our talk that we've got on Tuesday, not Tuesday next week, the week after that. But this is a little bit of an insight into looking in the system. So how we look at the interpretation, sorry, the input, interpretation and output.